Kelly Sheffield, head volleyball coach at Wisconsin. I'm here with All-American setter Syndey Hilley. Sid, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Hi, doing great. I'm excited to do this. Sid's extremely talented and cerebral setter who just keeps getting better and better every year. And Sid and I thought we'd take you inside the film room. Some of the things that we're looking for when we're trying to come up with an offensive game plan. So two important, simple and important questions we're asking ourselves going in at the very beginning. Number one, what are they doing? What's our opponents doing? Meaning, are they just, how are they defending? So we've got to have a feel for how do they want to defend. And for today, that's just going to focus on the block. And then the second question is, how do we want to attack? Our offense versus their defense, or our offense versus their block. What's going to be our offensive game plan? So let's go back to the first part. What are they doing? And we want to, one of the questions we want to ask is, are the pins helping? Are there pins helping in the middle part of the court? So this is the left side blocker. We also call, here's the right side blocker. These are their pin blockers. So we want to know, are they helping with the middle? A second question that we're asking is, are they read blocking? Or are they is the middle fronting a quick hitter? Are they moving with the pass? Things like that. So are they read blocking? So let's focus on, is there pin help? Right? And this part right here, let's go ahead and play this. This is a match against Penn State. And we get a nice pass here. Ball's in the setter's hands. And what we can see here at this point, the left side blocker is moving out to the slide attack. And the right side blocker is staying out here on the antenna. There is no pin help coming. So there's a one-on-one. Middle dives to her left. Madison shows hitting to her right and goes with the no-look shot cross body for the kills. Another scheme, and we'll see this against Michigan, is their middle fronting the quick attack. And keep your eye here on their middle. And as the ball is passed, you see the middle moving towards the quick attacker. She is moved from the middle and gone over to front, the quick attack. Or are they scheming? As the ball is passed, you see that looks very different than what we have seen. The middle has now gone from the middle to come over here to trap the outside hitter. Right? You've got two blockers here on the one hitter on Molly. You've got the one blocker over here on Dana. And they've left the back row to be all over Sydney. And we've got no back row attackers here. So that would be an example of trapping or a certain scheme block that is happening. So how do we want to attack these different schemes? So we go back here. You've got no help from the pin. Ball's in the setter's hands. We want a steady diet of what, Sid?
You want to stay in the middle third here. So on this play, if I go to duello in the middle of the court, there's only going to be one blocker on her, versus at the other pins, there's probably going to be a double block. So this is a good scenario, one-on-one. We'll take that every time we can get it.
So no pin help. And there might be some opportunities where you're going to the pins and things like that, but probably a steady diet of the middle third. Here we've got Minnesota. Got the pins kind of in here helping out a little bit. And so when there is pin help and you have the middle blocker in a read, what is something that you can do in that scenario, Sid?
One thing you can do is overload. And what I mean by overload is to have two hitters in one blocker zone. So right here, we're running a go B with Duello on the go and Danielle on the B. So both those hitters are in their right side's blocking zone. So having them have to defend both can kind of get them stressed out a little bit. So running either a go B in this situation or an A hut on the other pin.
I decided to do this. This was a younger right side that came in. It's, most setters think that blocking the right side is way harder than being a middle blocker. And so you say, here's a middle blocker that is over here on the right side, and you're like, let's send 2 at her and see if we can overload. And let's see what that does here. So she gets that step outside of the pin, and we're able to just beat the block in there. So that's an example of an overload. Here's another example of an overload.
Oh boy.
It's not going to be, she knows what's coming, not going to be happy about this play here. Minnesota has decided to overload her. And we've got an attacker here, an attacker here. They're sending 2 attackers at her. And she decides to get all over this quick. And one of the challenging things with Minnesota is that ball goes just over the middle blocker's hands. It's really hard to tell what they're doing. Sid is biting on that, pretty excited about it, and Hart is even more excited.
Yep.
Would be a perfect example of an overload. Then let's talk about playing a team that fronts a quick attacker. Very different. We're seeing here, balls in the setter's hands, middle blockers come over here to front or shift towards our quick attack. And what does that do for you if you're going back? What do you call that, Sid?
We call this an isolation play. So this is purposely designed to set back. We know that the middle is going to shift with our middle attacker, so we run them away from where we want to go. And this ends up getting a huge seam for Duello behind.
The other thing that you need to do is teams that read and react, your eyes aren't really that important. Right? But when you are playing a team that does do some early scheming, that leaves early, you can see Sydney's right there. See what her eyes did? Her eyes just go right to the blockers. See if she can see what they are doing. So she goes to them. She's able to see that. She still has them on the peripheral vision here. She sees that they've decided to go and trap our slide attacker, and she gets her hitter in a one-on-one situation. This is against Penn State, and we're in row 1. What are you seeing right now?
All right, well, row 1, and we're in a stack, so gonna run a go dog 5. So we have Gabby Blossom in the front row, which we know isn't helping in the middle third. And then we're running a slide, so that kind of takes the left side out. Gorell's a pretty good blocker, so she might be able to come in and help late. But since there's not a ton of pin help, attacking the middle third is a good option and gives Duello a good seam in the block. All right, now they have a little bit of a different blocking lineup in, so we're still running the same play, a go dog 5 here, but now they have a new right side blocker who is in a bunch now, so she's able to help in the middle third as well as get on the pin. So here I go behind, which gives a one-on-one because their middle is in a read and is late to get to the slide.
What are you seeing here?
All right, we're also in row 1, but in this scenario, both pins are bunched in, able to help in the middle third. So if I do go to the 5, there's likely going to be a double, if not a triple block, which I end up doing, and there's a triple block. So this is not a good decision, but we learn after the fact. And that's what happens when you set into a triple block. You get blocked.
You're taking a snapshot, you're taking a picture of what happens after this, a mental picture, right? Yep. And you're kind of seeing Gorell is kind of overplaying this, right?
Yep. So after this, you can kind of tell that the slide is probably going to be a good option just because she's so bunched in, and she's probably going to have a difficult time getting all the way behind to the pin to stop the slide.
Talk us through this.
All right, well, this is the same matchup. You have both pins ready to help, but in this scenario, the pass takes me a little bit forward, and Ford is kind of fronting me, so she's shifting with the pass here. and I see that, so I go behind. But in reality, a better choice would have been going to the slide, so that it probably would have been on a one-on-one or a late block by the middle, because Ford's really, Garell's really bunched in to stop the 5 here.
So this is the very next play from that. You kind of feel that left side blocker is kind of overplaying that, and you send your middle blocker to the pin. They got you on the previous one, but you don't turn one mistake into 2. You kind of learn from it and see and go. So this is set 5, and sometimes what people will do, some teams, Penn State is certainly one of these teams, that they may block a certain way for the first part of a set, and then when they get into winning time or into the red zone, 20 on, they might change blocking schemes a little bit more.
All right, well, I am now front row, so I'm going to have 2 hitters. We also see that Gabby Blossom is now front row again, so she's likely going to go all the way out to the pin, doesn't like to help much. So in this scenario, I'm running a go dog, and you can see that their middle is kind of shifting towards the go, and I end up going to the go, or the rip here, I believe.
So she leaves early in this scenario. She was leaving early to try to trap Molly out here on the outside, right?
Correct.
So that's probably what they probably got the choice they wanted us to do. You go ahead and set Molly anyways. Okay. Molly's able to, probably not a great form block of still has a little bit of success, even though we set into the double block, right?
Yep.
Things happen.
This is rotation 1, and I'm in a stack, so we're going to go dog 5. In this scenario, a little bit different. We have a shorter setter who's blocking on the right side in this scenario. So a good option when there's a shorter blocker is to kind of attack that pin. So going to Grace could be a good option here on the go. We also have a 5, and their right side is less likely to help on the 5 as well.
Okay, so you don't believe that this blocker here is going to help with the middle third?
No.
And so there's no help, even though she's inside.
Yep.
She's going to swing block to go out there, so you'd feel comfortable going out to Grace in this scenario. Right?
Yep.
Or setting our second tempo in the middle. You'd feel good about either of those.
Yep.
There's a possibility of help coming from the left side, right?
Correct.
She likes to take these really big moves outside. Hart really likes to make these big moves.
Yep. One thing that helps a little bit in this case is I moved a little forward, so it makes it a little harder for Lexi Hart to try to get in on the 5.
All right, so the pass takes you over the right side. Okay, talk us through this.
All right, since we know that their middle is holding in the middle and waiting, and I'm running a go and a dog right here with Dana on the dog is going to be a good option. We call this a short string set because I'm closer to the right side antenna. This makes it difficult for their middle to move a long distance in that short amount of time. So the short string against a team that reads is always a good option.
Versus the long string or the long antenna.
Yep.
For this antenna away, you'd have over here, you've got 2 blockers in front of you, and the ball takes longer to get out here to one hitter. What you've decided to do is to go quicker so this player doesn't have time to get there. The short string against them is a good option. Good.
All right, well, I'm also front row in this scenario, but they have a shorter blocker on the right side here. And the pass takes me forward. So I could go, if I go outside, that's the short string. Or if I go back, that's the long string. And I'm running Grace here on a rip. I'm bringing her inside the court, which makes it easier for their middle to get in on. But we're attacking a shorter blocker, so Grace just has to hit the right shot here.
So this is you letting Grace do all the work, right?
Yep, she's making me look good in this.
Bringing her in, giving her a little bit more court to attack, and she's going over the blocker. So it's up to her to be able to hit the correct shot.
Yep.
She does. One of the awesome things about about the Big Ten is there's so many different schemes that we're seeing on a match-to-match basis, and some of these we're seeing on back-to-back nights.
Here you can tell that their left side blocker is going out with our slide, but you can see that their right side blocker is really tight and engaged on the 5, so you know that there's going to be a double block on that.
Which there is. We've got pin help that comes, right?
Yep. Yep.
And you're packing that away, and the very next time that we're in that rotation, you get an opportunity. You run the exact same play.
Yep.
Coming from the right side blocker, as we can tell, she's leaning in here.
Yep.
It's a different right side blocker, but they're wanting to kind of do the same thing. She's getting in, thinking to help. This play overloads her. Molly hits the right shot down the line.
All right, well, this one on back row, we're running a go B hut here. You can see that their middle is shifting towards the pass and also our middle attacker. So here it looks like I'm setting Dana, which is not the best option because there's a double block right in front of it because that middle is shifting and it's right in front of the right side blocker. So not the best option. In this case, since we know that the middle is going to be fronting our B, going with the isolation and going behind is probably the best option.
So
yep.
This blocking scheme is to try to slow down this quick attacker who happens to be Dana Redke. So let's take a look at one other team. This is Purdue, and they defend a little bit differently as well.
They kind of have a shorter blocker on the right side as well. In this scenario, I get pushed forward, and you can see that their middle molar is shifting with me. So I go short string here, which is not the best option because their middle has a really close route to close that go. Since she is shifting, I can probably go with the isolation here, and because Newton's also really sucked in here. So going long string all the way behind, there's likely going to be a seam. Or I could have gone to Danielle behind me on a C, which also probably would have had a little bit of a seam.
So, and these decisions are happening just super, super quick, aren't they?
Yeah. Different matchup this time. Their setters no longer front row, so they have pretty strong blockers everywhere here. I'm right in the middle of the court, and I can see that the middle is making a pretty late move to try to trap the dog here. So going outside, there's probably going to be a one-on-one in this scenario.
You've got yourself into a really good posture right here with where you're taking the ball. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to read when you're in that type of posture. So there's sometimes that I'm sure people sit there and say, man, you got Dana Redke. How come you're not setting her over and over and over again? Well, sometimes the opponent is making what they're doing is you're countering. And that's where having a lot of balanced attackers across the board gives you confidence to be able to feel like, here, I've got players that are going to win this one-on-one battle more often than not. Right?
Yeah, makes my job a lot of fun when I feel like I can go to everyone and try to play with the blockers a little bit.
What are you seeing here?
All right, well, I'm back row and I have 3 hitters here with the Go Dog 5. You can see that the pins are kind of bunched in, but they're both kind of already opened up and leaning towards their pin. So attacking the middle third is likely going to be a one-on-one. So it's a very difficult move to make when you're already leaning and kind of steps to go to your pin to try to come back and help in the middle. And I know that from experience, so being able to see that is good.
So what are you seeing here?
All right, well, I'm back row. We're running a go B dog, pretty much a perfect pass. And you can see that their middle is taking a late shift to the B. So going in front, we're going to probably have 2 blockers on both, but their right side is kind of leaning towards the go. So running a B would probably be a one-on-one scenario as well.
Is there a set that you probably wouldn't make too much in this scenario with a team that's defending this?
Probably the go is probably the least likely option because their pin is already leaning towards the go, and if their middle is taking a shift towards our B, they have a much shorter route to try to close the go. So there's likely going to be a solid double block in front of the go in this scenario.
Both these guys are in a posture, and this is things that are game planned, to really put up a good block out here on Molly, right? They're in that posture. But you're seeing, because this player, you can overload her, even though she's in a bunch, because she likes to open up. So you can go quick and overload, even though this player is fronting, because this player is not in a neutral position, right?
Yep.
See what you do? And this is where the attackers and the setters have to be on the same page. Can you put up a ball where the hitter can hit with range? And then can our middle, Dana here, can she hit the correct shot? Right? And she does. She's able to beat that block. And so, as you can tell, it's a lot of methodical work. It's not fast-paced. It's a little bit slower. You know, one of the awesome things about playing in high-level volleyball, and why setters love people that can pass the ball. So you're able to make some of these decisions over and over and over again. Sid, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I hope the fans enjoyed
cool.
this a little bit, even though now they're probably going to be like, why did you set this when the block is doing this? But still, it was really fun.